Hello and welcome. This is Jenna from McGuire and I'm glad you're here. So today I am sharing with you some fun cards that combine stenciling, stamping, die cutting, and foiling. Now the foiling is really easy to do and uses a new brilliant product line. However, I wanted to show you how you can use hot foil plates creatively in case you don't have a hot foil machine, and also just so you can get more life from them. So I will first show you the new product line that inspired this whole video. Then I will show you how to do the basics with them and how to use them creatively. So we'll do some additional backgrounds like the ones you see here. Then we will make some cards. So I've got a lot to share, and I also at the end of this video want to show you a card that I completed in a live chat with the folks over at Pinkfresh Studio. That'll be at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. But first, let me show you that fun new product line that I think is really going to be a fun game changer for card makers. So let's check out the first product. Now this is a stamp, a layering stencil set, a background die, and a hot foil plate that all coordinate together. They're sold separately, so you could get the pieces that might appeal to you, or even just one. They all are great standalone. So here is the background stamp. I actually didn't use many of the stamps in today's video because I chose to do the foiling, but if you don't have a foiling machine, you could do the stamp instead. There's the die that cuts out the image, so you can do a really cool inlay technique or like a pop-down technique, which I'll do today. Then there are the layering stencils, such a fast way to color in that background image. However, you can use the layering stencils without the stamp if you don't want to, or you could just use it with the die. Lots of options here. Then we have what's new to this kind of combination, and that is the hot foil plate. So this lines up, I believe, with the background stamp. So you can use this with the die, and you can use it with the layering stencils too. So you have lots of options of how these can be used together. I will be demonstrating using the hot foil plate, the die, and the layering stencils from this set. So stay tuned for that in a little bit. I want to show you the rest of the line. This happens to be one of my favorites from this collection. This is the folk art birds. So once again, you have a background die, a hot foil plate, a stamp, and layering stencils, and they all work together or separately. I've been using a lot of layering stencils lately because I'm excited that companies are offering them. It's a faster way to color, and I get better results than when I color with markers or colored pencils. So for me, it's a lifesaver. Now, I will say if you like to color, you can totally skip the layering stencils and color in the stamped image or color in the hot foil image if you prefer. Next is the Pinkfresh Joyful Peonies. Look how beautiful it is just stenciled. Then there is the stamp. Then you have the hot foil plate, and then you have the die to cut it out. So again, you can mix and match these as you want, and I will be demonstrating the hot foil plate, the layering stencils, and the die today. Here's another that I'll be demonstrating. This one has a background stamp, a hot foil plate that matches up, and then the layering stencils. There's no die for this one, but you can use those layering stencils alone, with the stamp, or with the hot foil plate. Pinkfresh has also come out with some hot foil plate sentiments, and there are coordinating dies available. This one says "You Sparkle with Generosity," which I'll use today, and I'll change it up for one of my cards too. There is also the "Thank You So Much" hot foil plate and coordinating die. And don't worry, I'll show you how to do this and also show you how to use it if you don't have a foil machine. There is also Best Wishes, which I don't use today, but I wanted to show it to you. You can see it does a nice fine foiled line. And then Celebrate. So you've got the hot foil plate and coordinating die. Now I did want to mention that a lot of what I'm showing today has hot foil plates, but Pinkfresh Studio does have other things in this line that don't use hot foil plates. So like there's background stamps and layering stencils that can be used together, and then just layering stencil sets where you don't need anything else with it. They stand alone, create a beautiful background. So these options are available too, but I'm going to focus on those hot foil plates today and show you some fun ways to use them. Okay, let's talk about these hot foil plates and foiling machines. Now, there are a few different foiling machines out there, so you might want to look into which foiling machine would work with whatever die cut machine you have. I'm using the Spellbinders Platinum 6 today, so I'm going to use the Spellbinders Glimmer Machine, which works with it, and it works really well. It's kind of a foolproof system for getting true, beautiful foiling on your card. So this is a hot foil machine, and with it you use hot foil plates like the one you see here. You can actually use dies with it to do foiling too, which I demonstrated in another video, which I'll link to at the top right here. Also with this, I'm using my Spellbinders Platinum 6, as I mentioned, because these machines work together. If you have a different die cut machine, you can look into what foil machine works with it. There are a few different options out there, and they all work great. You will also need foil, and there are a few different brands out there, but I go with the Glimmer foil because I know it'll work with my machine. You definitely want to use the hot foil for this. There are different types of foil out there, and this one works brilliantly. There are so many great colors out there, but I always seem to go back to the same 2 or 3, and I will show you those today. But there are some brilliant options, and a little goes a long way with this, as you'll see also. I thought I'd quickly show you how I store my foil. I take it out of the box and I tear off the name of the foil and tuck it down into the tube. Then I have them all in this tiered organization rack. I think it's meant for nail polish. Now, the one I used is no longer made. I will link to something that looks similar below if you want to check it out. But this way I can see all of my foils, and the label is in the inside. So if I need to find it, I can pull that out and get more if I need to. This system has worked really great for me. I just use a little piece of temporary tape to hold it so it doesn't unravel, and it's good to go whenever I'm ready to foil. Let's first do some basic foiling, and then I'll show you how you can use these plates without foil. So I'm taking that same foil plate that I showed you before, the You Sparkle with Generosity, and I'm putting a piece of tape at the top just to create a little hinge. I then am taking, this is one of my favorite foils, this is the Aurora Glimmer Hot Foil Roll, and I'm cutting a piece off to use along with this plate. Now I didn't need this much, so I'll just cut off the excess and save that for later in a little container. Now I slide my foil underneath the plate so that the pretty side is facing up at me. You want the pretty side to touch the face of the hot foil plate. Okay, now we're going to put this onto our glimmer machine, which I've let warm up, and it says it's ready. There's a little light that tells you it's ready. You're going to lay down your hot foil plate up against the machine, so the cardstock is up. Then you put down the shim that comes with the machine, and then the plate that comes with the machine. Then you press the timer button. The light will flash while it warms up. It just takes a few minutes. When it's done flashing, as you can see here, you pull out the platform and the plates and you move it directly into your die cut machine. I like to go back and forth a few times. Not sure it really makes a big difference, but I figure if one hug is good, why not have more hugs? So once I've done that, I can go ahead and take it out, pop the platform in again to the glimmer machine so that it can warm back up, take off the plates, and now remove our paper. You can see the foil will be stuck to it. Remove my hot plate, it will be hot. And now peel off the foil and look at that. It is so beautiful, and it doesn't really scratch off easily, which is one of the reasons I really like doing foiling this way. It's really beautiful. Now there is that coordinating die that goes with this, and I wanted to show you how it lines up nicely. And the cool thing about this particular one is each of the words cuts separately, so you can put them wherever you want on your card. And in my first card example, which we'll do in a bit, I actually don't use the whole sentiment. I just use the word generosity. Since it cut out so nicely, I thought I'd team up a stamp sentiment with it for my first example. But here you can see how all the words cut apart. Let's do another example of foiling. This time I'm using a larger hot foil plate, and I'm using Prism Glimmer Hot Foil, which is my other favorite. This is silver with an iridescent look. Now this is going to be a bigger background, right? Whenever I do a bigger background, sometimes I find having a shim inside of my glimmer sandwich is helpful. Totally depends. You'll want to experiment with your machine and whatever hot foil plate you were using. I found for this particular one, it was good to add a little shim. Once again, I lay my foil onto the cardstock, pretty side up, lay my hot foil plate down, and I like to use tape so it doesn't shift when I'm doing this whole process. Now I'll move this over to my glimmer machine, which is hot and ready. Lay it down so the hot foil plate touches the machine. cardstock is facing up. I put the 2 plates on top, push the button. When the timer is done, the light will go solid. And watch closely. I'm going to go slow here. I put a piece of cardstock shim between the 2 plates that are on top of the glimmer machine. Then I'd remove the platform and the plates and run it through the die cut machine. So you can see there's that piece of cardstock right there in the top. That just adds a little more pressure, which I find is sometimes helpful with larger hot foil plates. This is rarely needed. Honestly, the machine and the hot foil plates seem to work well no matter what. But sometimes, depending on what cardstock you're using, maybe it's a little thinner, you need that extra little bit of pressure. Okay, so now I'm putting my glimmer machine back together to warm up, and we can remove the foil and look at that. So beautiful. If you find foil kind of caught between some of the lines, just use a dry brush to rub off that excess foil, as you see me doing here. And then you can use a mono sand eraser or a regular eraser to kind of sand away any of that extra foil that's on the outside edge. But I gotta say, the results of this are beautiful, and it's very quick and easy to do. You can make a very fast card using just this and add a sentiment and put it on a card. But we'll step it up today by adding coloring with stencils. But first, I wanted to show you the other ways that you can use these hot foil plates without foil and without a foil machine. There are a lot of hot foil plates out there right now, so it's fun to come up with other ways to use them. So I have my die cut machine here, the Spellbinders Platinum 6. You could use whatever machine you have, and I'll use that same hot foil plate. This is the sandwich that I found works well with hot foil plates. I put down a metal adapter plate, just a metal shim. You could use a stack of cardstock, maybe 2 or 3 thick here instead, if you prefer. And then I have my embossing mat, which comes with the machine. This allows me to make an impression with the die instead of cutting with it. Well, we're going to use it with a hot foil plate today. I then am using Tim Holtz watercolor paper. The only reason I'm using Tim Holtz watercolor paper is it's got a little flex to it, and it works really well with a faux letterpress look, but you could use regular cardstock if you prefer. Now onto this, I'm applying a Pinkfresh dye ink. I'm just lightly rubbing it over the raised area of the hot foil plate. You can kind of dab it on there, but don't do it too generously. You just want to touch only the raised areas. You could use a brayer if you want to. Then I'll lay that right down on my paper without shifting it, put a clear cutting plate on top, and run it through. Basically, you're doing a little bit of a lighter sandwich than you would do if you were making an impression with a die, because the hot foil plate is a little thicker. And check out how beautiful that is. Beautiful faux letterpress look with that soft ink in there. This works great with any of the hot foil plates. You just transfer that ink in as you make an impression. Such a fun way to use these. This would be great as a simple card, or you can combine it with a die cut that lines up with it like I showed you earlier. Okay, now I wanted to show you can also do this kind of letterpress technique with hot foil plates using white pigment ink. So I'm using my Tim Holtz brayer and loading a bunch of white pigment ink onto it. The reason I'm using the brayer is this will allow me to apply the ink only on the raised areas. White ink pads that are pigment ink are usually squishy, and if I tried to just tap it on the raised areas, I'd probably get the background too. So using a brayer is super easy, and you can see it just puts white ink right onto those raised areas. And again, this would work with any hot foil plate. I have some blue cardstock in there. I'm using the same sandwich I used before. Laying that down carefully onto it, ink side down, making sure I don't shift it. Then I put the cutting plate on top and I run that through the machine. So that applies pressure, no heat here, just pressure to put that white ink into the plate. Now when I took my cutting plate off, I accidentally dropped the plate back on it. So you can see there's some white in the background. That was because I accidentally dropped it on there afterwards. I can sand that off with the sand eraser, but look at that beautiful white impression. And here you can see another one where I didn't make the mistake, and it really gives a great result. Now, these are just other ways you can use these hot foil plates. You can see some other examples there with some foil on them. These would be great for simple cards. Now, I'm not going to use these backgrounds in today's video. I'm going to save them and do something with them later. But I wanted to be able to show you that you can use these for simple, quick cards and without the hot foil machine. But now let's go on to the cards for today, where I combine the hot foiling, die cutting, and stenciling all together. So here is my first example, and I'm using that folk bird set. So we're going to use the hot foil plate, the die, and the layering stencils. So I'm skipping the stamp today, but you could definitely use it if you want. Remember, you could always use the stamp and gold heat emboss it to get a similar look. Heat embossing does have a different look than foil, but it does give that shine if you don't have a foil machine. Okay, so let's do the foiling first. I find it's best to start with that. I have white cardstock, then my foil pretty side face up. Then I put my hot foil plate down, that's the folk bird one. Line it up, tape it in place because I find that foil is pretty slippery and it's best if you tape it. Put it down so the hot foil plate is onto the foil machine. Put the plates on top, push the button, wait for the light to stop flashing. When it does, take it over to your die cut machine right away and run it back and forth through. So here we will have a beautiful gold outline on white cardstock. And you can see there's a little bit of foil in between some of the lines, so I just use my dry brush to kind of knock that off. There's a little extra foil on the outside edge. I'm actually going to cut that off, so it's no big deal. And there you can see that beautiful transfer. So much fun. So now let's do some stenciling. So these stencils have little tick marks that help you to line them up, but I find just looking through the holes and lining it up is very easy. And then I put tape to hold it in place. The stencils are also numbered on the top if that makes it easier for you, but really you can go in any order with the stencils. Now I am using Pinkfresh Studio dye inks today. This is Fresh Pear, which is this beautiful soft green ink. I'm using Gina K blending brushes to apply the ink, but you could use whatever inking tool you may have. And I found that using dye inks does not harm the foil at all. Pigment ink may want to sit on top of the foil, but you can definitely wipe the excess off. All right, so we put the green ink in there. I use a dry cloth to wipe off the extra, and then we can move on to the second stencil. And look how beautifully that lines up. It just tickles me because coloring this would take me 2 days. So using the stencils is definitely a time saver for me. All right, next up we have a medium green shade, and this is for the details of the leaf. This is key lime. So I'll put this down, and remember, you can always apply ink lightly to get a lighter color and heavily to get a darker color. So you really could use one green ink for these 2 steps if you prefer. In addition to these greens, throughout this video, I'll be using some blues from Pinkfresh Studio. These have won my heart over, these colors. I use Slumber, which is the lightest, Blue Jay, which is middle, and Sapphire, which is like the bold, bright, darker color. These colors were actually inspired by my friend Jeff, who does live chats with Pinkfresh Studio, and I'll talk about that at the end of this video. But these blues, man, they really pop. But keep in mind, you can really change up the feel of this card by using different colors. Just a simple change of color can really give it a completely different look. Here we are with the last layer stencil. This is that sapphire color that I love so much. It really makes it pop. So once we're done, we have this really thin foil outline image that is just gorgeous, much shinier than heat embossing. And then we have the color on the inside that we were able to do so fast. All right, now let's finish off this card. And I decided to use the die along with the background. It lines up beautifully, and we're kind of setting back our foiling and inking. So the way I do this is I have 2 pieces of light blue cardstock that are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm cutting the background die from that. Now this background die does not cut the outside edge, which is nice because you could do it on the front of a card. Well, I created 2 die cuts like that from light blue, used spray adhesive to glue the 2 layers together, and then I'm gluing this on top of our inked and foiled background. Now for the sentiment on this, I use navy cardstock and gold foil and that You Sparkle with Generosity hot foil plate. Now remember before how I showed you after I foiled this, I could die cut it out and you get the word separated? Well, I'm just using the word generosity on today's card. So I did the hot foiling as I've shown you many times in this video. Same process, use the hot foil machine, ran it through my die cut machine, used the coordinating die to cut it out, and here is the card that I came up with. It actually didn't take that long to pull together because a lot of the detail is done for you with the hot foil plates. I really like how the background die cuts line up with the foiling and inking that we did. I added the background onto a navy note card, and I also added a few pearls here and there. You'll notice I white heat embossed the words "I love your" on a piece of navy cardstock. I just found those words from an older Pinkfresh Studios stamp set, and I thought it was a fun way to get more from that hot foil plate by changing up the sentiment a bit. This was definitely my favorite card of the bunch, and I plan to make more in different colors. All right, let's move on to our second example. In this case, I used the stamp, hot foil plate, layering stencils, and die. Now off screen, I went ahead and used gold foil to hot foil the joyful peony hot foil plate that I showed you earlier. So the foiling's already been done on white cardstock, just as I showed you before with my other examples. If you don't have the hot foil plates or the hot foil machine, you could always just gold heat emboss the stamp image and then do your inking with the layering stencils. But again, hot foil gives a very smooth, very shiny result, which is very different than any kind of heat embossing, which is raised and has a little bit more of a matte finish to it. All right, so I did my first layering stencil, and I actually used 2 colors on here just to add a little more interest. I did the same colors that I did on my last card. I really was into these blues, and I found it faster to put all these cards together when they were all the same color combination. Now I'm going to skip some of the stenciling here because it's just going from one stencil to the next and applying even coverage over each of them. And stenciling is pretty foolproof. If you wanted to, you could even add more to this by doing like a glitter gel or kind of some sort of a shimmer paste over it. That would be fun along with the foiling that we have underneath. All right, there was that sapphire at the end, which adds that pop of color in the center. And check that out. The outline is that shiny foil, and then we have the beautiful color on the inside. And it was pretty quick to do. Now I'll just use the coordinating die to cut this out so we can add it onto our card easily. Now off screen, I took blue cardstock and blue ink, and I stamped the peony that coordinates with all this repeatedly on the blue cardstock. I thought that would be a fun backdrop that would match our hot foiled flower perfectly. So I glued that onto a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch white note card. And now I'm gluing the die cut that we just created on top. Now that die cut has some dimension to it. That's because I used the coordinating die to cut 2 more from white cardstock and glue it behind it. So it has stacked dimension. Now here we have the Celebrate. Remember I showed you that hot foil plate and coordinating die earlier. I just did hot foil of gold foil on navy cardstock, and then I'm gluing that right on top of my card. So the foil in the Celebrate matches nicely with the foil in our flower, which really makes it all shine together nicely. All right, I did finish this off by white heat embossing "It's a Beautiful Day" on a navy cardstock strip and adding it below the word Celebrate. And then I added a few pearls here and there. Check out the Celebrate. I love the look of that foil on that dark cardstock. It's fine line, but it stands out great against the card. All right, let's move on to our next example. On this one, I let the hot foil sentiment really stand out, but you could do like that letterpress technique that I showed you earlier with ink if you don't have a hot foil machine. This is the "Thank You So Much" hot foil plate that I showed you at the beginning of the video, creating a little hinge there on blue cardstock, putting my foil pretty side up underneath it, and then we'll put this on our glimmer machine. Now, I originally thought I wanted my sentiment to be on this like lightish medium blue cardstock. I later switched it to navy, but it's the same exact process and the same foil. So I let my plates heat up and then I ran it through my die cut machine, and there, look at the results of that foil. I just think it's beautiful. I know foiling isn't for everyone, but I'm just crazy about the results, so I'm really excited about these plates. Okay, now we can use the coordinating die, run it through the machine. Oh, look at that. Great to add on to just about any card. Now for this card, I thought I'd use another one of the layering stencils with the hot foil plate and background die. This is the Folk Garden, the first one I showed you in this video. Now I'm skipping through some of it. It's the same process that I've done many times, but I used the hot foil plate with silver foil on white cardstock. Now I'm using the stencils and lining it up and adding the ink on top using the same colors that I've used throughout the video. After I was done with that, I used the die to cut 2 layers that I will then glue on top of this inked background, just like I did with my first card example. It really brings the card to life to add those layers. You got foil, die cutting, and inking all together. So here's the card that I came up with. I trimmed that background down that we just made. You can see the die cuts are glued on top. And then I matted that with light blue cardstock, and then I put it onto a blue note card. There you can see the foiling that I did on navy cardstock, and I built up a few layers behind that too. Didn't add any other embellishments to it because we have all that foil catching the light, and it really makes for a fun standout card. I just find this line of product is so well thought out that it's easy to use together to come up with a card. All right, I have one more example using all these stencils and hot foil plates. This one was really fun because I did my inking on a colored cardstock, and I used colored foil this time. So off screen, I used my hot foil plate background and blue foil on blue cardstock. So I just did the foiling like I did before, but I used blue foil, blue cardstock. Now I have my stencils. This time I'm using white pigment ink on top of the stencil. So I'm kind of dabbing it on there with my Tim Holtz ink blending tool. And you can see I'm not working it too much, just dabbing some down. Now I will then take a dry cloth and wipe off all the excess. That white pigment ink will sit on top of the foil, and we don't want that. We want the foil to show through. So if we take a dry cloth and rub off that excess ink, we can be sure our foil will show. Now I'm coming in with the next stencil, and this one does the details on top of the inking we just did. So here I'll use my bright blue sapphire ink. So this is going on top of the white that we did. So it'll add detail to those soft flowers. All right, now we're coming in with the leaves. So this is the base of the leaves. I'll do white pigment ink on this too. Now I do recommend wiping off the excess ink before you remove the stencil. Here I didn't, and you can see how the ink kind of built up a little bit around the inside edges of the stencil. Watch, you can see here. So I kind of have to wipe off the excess there, which would have been better to do before I removed the stencil, but it ended up working in the end. Now I'm coming in with the next stencil, which is the details on the leaf. So I'm lining that up, and this time I'm coming in with green ink right on top of the white that we just did. Now check out these results. I really like this with the white on the colored background, with the pops of color on top, and then that bright blue hot foil outline. Really fun to do and didn't take long at all. Now I used the blue foil along with the Use Sparkle with Generosity hot foil plate and did that on white cardstock, and then used the coordinating die to cut it out. This time I wanted to use the whole sentiment on the background, and I wanted some help lining it up. So what I did is I took the outline of the die cut, the negative space, and I'm just temporarily taping it right over my note card. I was sure to die cut it center on this so that when I put on my note card, it'll be center. Now all I need to do is glue my die cuts in the openings and then remove the negative space, and everything will be lined up. Now don't do what I just did here. I filled in that whole opening of Generosity with liquid adhesive. I should have put it on the back of the die cut so you can see some of that glue. It'll dry and be clear, but just don't do that. I learned my lesson, and on the others, I put my adhesive on the back and then popped them into the opening. Now these die cuts that I have here have additional die cuts glued to the back of it. So they're 3 thick so that they stand out nicely. I like to have dimension behind my sentiments just to make sure they're the focal point of the card. After you glue in the die cuts, I do recommend letting it dry. I'm impatient, so I had to kind of be careful when I removed the negative space. If you let it dry, you don't have to be as careful, but this worked just as well. I'm a little impatient. All right, I just finished this off by adding a few blue gemstones here and there, and you can see all that sparkle. You have your blue foil in the background, your blue foil on the sentiment, and then the blue gemstones. So it really goes nicely with the theme of the sentiment. And this card is a good reminder that you don't always have to start with white cardstock when you're doing layering with stencils. You can use white ink over it to help you build up different colors on top of the colored background. Okay, now before we go, I wanted to share a bonus card. A couple days ago, I did a live chat with my friend Jeff Lindbergh on the Pinkfresh Studio YouTube channel. I will put a link to it below so you can catch the replay. It was really fun. We did a lot of chatting and we made the card that I'm about to show you. The reason I wanted to share it here is we didn't finish the card in the video, and I just wanted to show you how I ended up finishing it off. Again, if you want to watch that live chat, it's on the Pinkfresh Studio YouTube channel, but I'll have a link below for you. In that chat, you can watch us create this inked background using layering stencils from Pinkfresh Studio. I'll link the different products that I use below and also list them at the top of the screen here. After we did the layered stenciling on white cardstock, I used a diamond die to cut from a medium blue cardstock and a navy blue cardstock. And I glued those on top, but slightly offset, so you just see a little bit of the navy peeking through, which I think is really fun. I added the high on the center, and that is from the Kelly lowercase alphabet dies, and then sending hugs across that. Now, what I didn't show in that video is that I used a glitter pen along with a T-ruler to draw a glitter line right down the center of the diamond pattern on the blue. Just adds a little sparkle, and then I added some gemstones too. So there were no hot foil plates used with this card, but I wanted to include it here since the finished card wasn't in the live chat, and it uses the same colors that I used in this video. All right, there you have it, a bunch of card examples using different layering stencils, hot foil plates, and more. I hope this inspires you. Now, I know that you need hot foil plates and foiling to do these particular techniques, but I wanted to show you the many ways you can use them. In case you decide to make the investment in a foil machine, it's always good to have lots of different things you can do with the products. All right, if you're interested in any of this, it's linked below in my YouTube description. All the links are there. You can also check out my foiling playlist, which I will link to here, along with another related video. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon.